So I want to give him a hand for being here and because we got a real Grateful Dead afternoon. And people have been waiting for an official Grateful Dead documentary for a very long time, so I guess let's start by just get a little backstory about why now and how did you guys get involved in this?
Right on. I think all of us are in this beginning for the love of the band. Long story short, this is something that's come together over years. It's been a long process. It's going to be done by fall, so I promise you'll be there soon. Basically, long story short, we have a director, Amir Bartlett, who's working away right now, who had come up with this concept of wanting to do that, and a lot of people have come up with the concept of wanting to work with a band and do a documentary. The key is then going and getting the band's trust. That led me to flying to San Francisco and connecting with Justin, just to meet each other and see if we vibe, and that's really important with Grateful Dead, is trust and how you act, and etc. And then from that, I'll leave it to Justin. The next step is to go back and forth on the done more, etc.
That makes it all sound so easy. This is Eric. Apparently we're really bad at introducing ourselves. This is Eric.
Hi, Eric.
I mean, the Grateful Dead film has been in the works, I think, since, for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a combination of people or a combination that the band really felt strongly about that they would entrust their movie with. So, the stars aligned and it's getting made. It's taking a little while, but all good things usually do.
And to add on to Justin, it wasn't that easy to enlist the trust of the Grateful Dead. We got Nick on board, who has a relationship with Martin Scorsese. So then they assumed it was just to be directed by Martin Scorsese. So we had to get them off that and realize that it was still our director. And from there, Nick on board and help shepherd.
I'm Nick Koskov. So basically, I read it 4 or 5 years ago. He was talking about this project we're starting. He had just went with Justin. And the obvious next step was to get someone attached that would bring some credibility, and who better for a music documentary than Martin Scorsese. My wife and I had worked on the George Harrison documentary with him, and went up to him, asked him about it. He said it was interesting, he didn't think about it. I said, do you want some tapes to listen to? He said, I got them. I thought that was a very good sign. And magically, the Rolling Stones were in town within a couple weeks. And he's backstage at a Stones concert, and he runs into Justin's father. And they start talking, and I think they got along well, and since then...
After that day, that's when my phone kept ringing, and then I said, this is actually might be real. So then, we all met and put it together. It sounds so easy now, but it was so difficult. So many people have tried this. I think the timing was right. I think the band was ready to tell their story. This was pre the Fairly Well. This is pre-Dead and Company. They wanted their story out. That's fair to say. They finally really wanted to tell their one encompassing story. The one anecdote to me that was pretty amazing. Then with the Marty behind our back and having these guys are good filmmakers and Justin as well, relaying to everybody that we sat with Bob Weir and we were talking, and it was Amir and I and Bob Weir. It's amazing enough just to sit in the room with a guy that we love. And one of the things I always will remember him saying is that they don't take 6 people to mix their album. So at that moment, the director felt like he had the leeway to go make the movie he wanted to make. And I think the band is now very happy and Justin's seen it and everything. So it was that leap of faith that kind of you had to take with them. And it's been like that ever since. So
You're a very brave man.
it's a very difficult task that we're pulling off, but I promise music fans, Dead fans especially, it just plays really well. It has Eric agreed to tell the whole encompassing story over 45 years. We try to hit on all the main points, starting from on the road all the way up to Jerry's death. We think we really nailed it, and we can't wait to bring it to you. Sorry it's taking a long time, but good things happen to wait for them.
Yeah, we kind of missed that 50th anniversary.
We're supposed to be ready for the 50th anniversary.
But I mean, that's really Grateful Dead. To not quite make it to where we thought it was going to be, but we'll do it the next year. It'll be just as good.
Or the year after.
The year after.
Well, the fact that it's going to come out, I guess, for the 52nd anniversary.
That's really the more important one.
Exactly.
Everybody has 50.
But I guess, were you able to include some footage from Fairly Well and kind of the events surrounding that, or did you guys want to kind of end it when the
we
actual
ended actually with Jerry's passing. That's when quote-unquote Grateful Dead, they haven't played on the other moniker as that. You know, when it comes out, maybe there'll be appendix and stuff like that. And we have tons of archival stuff that we've shot of interviews and extra footage and stuff. I mean, it'll be a true multimedia experience that's laid out in more of an episodic format than one linear story over front to back. At present, it's longer than an hour and a half movie.
A little.
Well,
Very grateful Dead.
Very Grateful Dead, exactly. Well, going back to some of your individual backgrounds, Justin, when you and I were talking earlier today at our previous panel, you mentioned that there's actually another very iconic film director who was instrumental in, spurring your interest in film back in the late 70s. I was wondering if you could, share that story with some people who maybe weren't there this afternoon.
Yeah, well, I got interested in film through a great process, and that process was the making of Apocalypse Now, as I'm sure a lot of people know. My dad, Mickey, did some of the percussion score. And this was 1977, I think, when they were brought onto it, maybe it was 78. And I got to sit, just as a really little kid, and watch the 6-hour version of Apocalypse, with Francis Coppola describing the film in terms of rhythm and music and what the jungle is saying on the timbres. Just really amazing stuff. 95% of which went way over my head. But I was just thinking, whatever this guy's talking about, I want to do what he does. And my dad bought me a camera, and I started shooting Grateful Dead film movies then. So that's sort of led to the career I have now.
Thanks, Dad. Well, and Eric and Nicky, give us a little background on kind of your entryway to the Dead world. Was it just trading tapes with Martin Scorsese, or before that?
Oh man, I've been going to shows since the mid-'80s. I never thought I'd be able to produce a Grateful Dead documentary or even work with them in any way. And then I got into TV, produced a lot of television, started making films, and then my wife started working with Martin Scorsese, and then I worked with him. And it just kind of came up. And I had talked to him about it before Eric approached me. And he said it was something that he'd be interested in. I just knew he didn't have time to direct something like this because he would have said, yeah, and he would have waited 15 years. So when Eric came to me with Amir Barlev, who I don't know if you've ever seen any of his movies, he's an incredible director. He tells an incredible story. If you did the Pat Tillman story, a beautiful documentary. And Marty was a fan of his, so it just kind of came together naturally.
Let's see, I got on the bus at Long Beach Arena when I was in high school. I hadn't gotten off, so in this quest, I guess the prequel was Amir and I had been trying to do a pre-story on Jerry Garcia, because we knew doing the Dead story would be so difficult to get the rights and the music, etc. That's when kind of Amir and I connected, just to do film, etc. And, we're both, Amir's from Marin, grew around with Trixie Garcia, I believe, in the same class, right, in high school, something like that. So it's all become very familiar. Again, I can't stress the trust and that they put in us. It's such an honor, and we really hope to make this kind of a legacy piece that will be around for generations to come. Know what the band's about.
I guess, speaking of the legacy and trust and kind of the core Grateful Dead family, in terms of some of the archival footage that you guys are using as, part of this project, can you talk a little bit about sorting through that? Was that something that you guys did? You did it to Amir? How did you guys kind of approach this vast well of material out there?
Here's the secret about the Grateful Dead vault. There's a lot of live footage. So we've gone above and beyond that. We've actually used a ton of Justin's footage, which has been very helpful. Which I'm not sure if you put that in the vault. We have unearthed some of the greatest 1970 footage of the band over in Europe.
Never seen it.
So that is exciting. Don't spoil that. That's amazing. And then, you just through various people, and you're putting out, the line to see where footage is at. And we've had a whole team of the archive because there's so much, and they're still sorting through it.
Definitely. In terms of, the Grateful Dead story, obviously many people have told it over the years, and there's been several films about, the individual members of the band and people kind of surrounding that world. Were there any films that you kind of, look to for either inspiration or just you kind of wanted to use the basis?
I'll take this one, let them go. The one thing I want to say about this film, I think, is key, is that we don't have a point of this is what the Grateful Dead are. We have a lot of the quote-unquote family and close people to Jerry and Bob and Phil and his dad, etc. And everybody has their own opinion, but everybody takes in their own opinion, just like the audience. So we're not going to tell you this is what the Grateful Dead are. We're going to explain them from a lot of different angles what they could be, and then you
I mean, in terms of, I guess, past Grateful Dead films, are there ones that you guys screened before or talked about, kind of as reference points?
Yeah, we've all seen all of them, but in that part of the process, you kind of leave that up to the director, and then he wants to go, and then obviously, we have group screenings, where we get together and give our opinions, and you kind of let the director lead the story.
And I think another thing about the Grateful Dead movies is, as you said, there's this well of live footage involved, and Justin has some great home footage as well, and I'm sure you guys have unearthed some other great live footage. I mean, I guess this is really a question for the director, but as producers and people involved, have you found that there was a challenge in balancing showcasing these guys on stage in the live element with kind of the documentary aspect?
So absolutely. So in one of the opening segments, we extend Dark Star for a long time, and it's a big montage of video where then 10 minutes later there's a lot of audio storytelling. So we show the band vibe of how they were live as well as the story behind it. Not behind music, but just the family and everything. So it is a combination of both. And it is a tricky balance, and Nick is right, you leave it up to the director to wait it out.
And then I guess in terms of where it stands now, I know you guys are in the editing process and stuff like that. How long have you guys been kind of working on the edit with it right now?
Lives have come and gone in the space of this movie. It's been being edited. Relationships have been won and lost.
That's true.
Wars have been fought.
But again, we are very close. By far, fall, we will be ready for this thing. And so we cannot wait to show it to you. And we're sorry that it took so long, but again, it's definitely going to be worth it.
I guess, leading off that, you mentioned that, this is, there's many ways to tell the Grateful Dead story. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of the films that have come out have been, maybe Jerry Garcia's story, Perfect Lives of the Grateful Dead. I assume that there was definitely an emphasis in trying to showcase all the members of the band and how their individual stories played.
It's all about the drummers, right?
Yeah. It's a Bill Cosby Grateful Dead, yeah.
Secret of the whole movie right there.
Yeah. Well, I think that you actually mentioned when we were talking earlier today that in certain ways your film technique, Justin, is influenced by being the son of a drummer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, everything has to work in a rhythm and have a feel and have a groove, and it's just that's why I work in music, because everything needs to dance, to quote my dad, and I just want visually to do the sort of same thing that he does when he's playing and he's counting in his head, and he gets his visions and adds them to the band, so I try to do that cinematically. That sounds really pretentious. This is like one of these really weird first nuggets that nobody's seen this film except us. We're talking about something we haven't seen, so I apologize for...
It will all be worth it, though, definitely.
Thank you.
This suffering you're feeling right now watching us will all be gone. Trust me.
Well, I guess maybe we could take some questions if people have. Do we have an extra mic we can bring around so people could hear the questions? Or
How long will the film be?
how long will the film be?
To be determined.
Longer than an hour and a half.
Right over here?
Did you always want to do this but needed help doing it?
It's really hard to see. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh.
Did you always want to do this but just needed the help to do it?
Did you do this Grateful Dead project?
Well, you have all the footage, so did you always want it to come to be?
I always wanted the film to happen. I always knew that I would be the wrong guy to be doing a Grateful Dead project. My Grateful Dead experience is very personal and needs somebody with a lot more perspective on it than me. But I always wanted to participate and add what I could to it. So I'm really happy that it's happening. And when I watch it, it's really striking because I know the Grateful Dead story very well. And I watch it and I'm interested. And I'm just like, at some points I'm even like, wow, I wonder how this is going to turn out. So that's like seriously, I caught myself doing that. I'm like, dude, don't be a dick. You know how this is going to turn out. The film, you can lose yourself in the film. And if I can do that, I figure that it's going to be really interesting to a lot of other people.
Any more questions?
Is it going to be in limited theaters, or is it going to be how are you planning to roll it out?
That's such a good question. It's such a
Great question.
Do people go to the theaters these days? Does it play better on Netflix and Amazon?
Yeah.
All to be determined, all to be figured out as we go to sell it. But that's a very good question. If you have the answer, let me know.
Excellent
Right over here,
question.
Sarah?
But if Scorsese is involved, it'll be there.
Possibly with the extra footage that we would want to see
Absolutely. Steve Parrish, we have the best interviews of Steve Parrish where we're only able to use a minute or two.
I thought we were saving those for the deposition.
Yes, there will be in some capacity tons of interviews that we've shot our own for this event. To be determined. The movie that we do with these?
Do you think it'll be like long enough to really like cover what's going on?
Absolutely. I think the real fans will be very happy with what we bring. We're not going to make it condensed and short, watered down version. No way.
Anyone else? Okay, over here.
Justin, I have to ask you.
Yeah.
One thing going to a lot of dead shows, just growing up with my dad, no one ever answered this question. What was it, and your dad particularly, he was one of two drummers. The Grateful Dead is really the only band, all the bands I've ever seen in my life, that really always had two drummers. What was it about that? I'm not saying that it's the one that I was familiar with, that I used to grow up with. How often do you see two drummers? What was it about that, it's so special? And did your dad ever wonder why one of the bands ever do this?
I don't think he thought about, I don't think he thinks that they're onto something that nobody else has figured out yet or anything. It's a combination that worked, and I think when Mickey came around, it was a great period to expand the band sound. They got to a lot of time signature stuff and really worked that hard. They worked really hard. All those changes and all those off-time signatures and all the stuff they were doing, it didn't just happen. And they really put some time into it, and also they just enjoyed each other's company. They liked having someone to play off. And my dad was learning a lot from Mickey, and Mickey was learning stuff from my dad. And it worked for them, and I don't think I can't speak for him, but I don't think he ever wondered why other people weren't doing what they were doing. But, you'd have to ask him.
Any other questions here? Wait, let's ask the question.
What's your dad's phone number so I can call him out?
Yeah. Like, Dad, does it sound like I'm knowing a lot of people? Real quick, you and Mickey, what the fuck, dude? And on good nights, it's like the best thing ever. On bad nights, they probably look at each other and go like, why don't I do this? That's for another movie.
What's the time frame? When does the time frame of the movie end as far as like now?
Garcia's dead.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it ends with Garcia's dead.
Grateful Dead, so 97, 95.
No, you have a much uplifting take with it.
You guys doing
The sequel.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's been pretty
That'd
hard.
be great.
Leading off that, you mentioned that this kind of began with a film about the prehistory. What's the earliest live footage of the band that you guys have that you can include in this? Of the Warlocks or the Dead, as a test.
Yeah, we have Jerry and Hunter singing Happy Birthday even earlier. The earliest recording of Garcia singing is on tape singing Happy Birthday.
Do you know what year that is?
64. I don't want to say the wrong year, so early 60s.
Do we have David Lee's number when you
Very pranks.
Phone a friend right here. Anyone else?
Nice. It's really going to be good, we promise.
All right, so next year we'll come back and have fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
There was rumor that there was film footage from the Fare Thee Well. Is that true? You guys not there? Were you there?
We're not
False statement.
That's weird.
That was not true.
Just check.
But again, I think later on we can do
Footage. Yeah.
We can have a sequel bonus DVD with all
They
the
should.
Extra footage.
They should.
John Moses.
This is really like the Grateful Dead story. I know that they're still going and they were further and there were other different inclinations of the band, but this is Grateful Dead, so 95.
Big Ten is very prominent. You'll be very, the real core of bands will be very happy.
Do you think you can touch base on like Oldman Way, Kokomo, anything like that? Like between 65 and 95?
Some of those side projects, yes.
We really stuck with the band. I mean, it's such a
Really Grateful Dead?
It's really Grateful Dead.
I mean, you can really obviously we did one with Bob. I mean, the these guys are pretty interesting. You could really do a movie on each one of these guys' stories and everything. So imagine putting all their stories together. If we branched out too much, the film would be even longer than it currently is. So,
Over an hour.
Did you work on the other one?
I did. I was executive producer on the other one.
Very good job.
Is there any more footage available from that movie that might be released?
From the other one? There's days and days of footage.
I mean, there might be, I'm sure there are, but I mean...
Well, we made a deal with Netflix, so we have to find out. It's never been released on any kind of home video format, so that's really a Netflix question or a Mike Fleiss question who directed that film. But we have the idea about that film is to make it more personal and try to stick with Bob's story, and obviously the Grateful Dead's a big part of it. But we didn't want him, we have him talking about Monterey Pop, we have him talking about Woodstock. But we're like, let's save all that stuff for the Grateful Dead movie, and let's talk about Bob's childhood and make it, because that was the point of that. But to answer your question, Bob was very kind at this time, and we had weeks and weeks. I mean, he took us to his home that he grew up in, down in Palo Alto, and who knows who lives there now, but we basically broke in, and we're like, Bob, they don't know who you are. We could actually get arrested. He's like, no, I just live here, it's cool, man. And it was such an awkward scene, but when you watch the footage, we're like, no one's really going to understand what we're doing unless you know Bob. So let's say we have the blooper reel that I'm trying to see on that film.
Speaking of the other one versus this Grateful Dead film, was there an overlap in time when you were doing interviews for those two films?
Not really. Everything for the other one was done in its own time in a matter of weeks, and then all the Grateful Dead stuff was done separately in very different approaches.
We have a question over here.
Hey, you guys, this sounds like it's pre-95, your movie. You guys willing to go long haul and do post-95 and what happened and where we are now? Down the road, if it...
Down the road, the sequel. We got to finish this one first.
Willing now, right? Willing?
Willing and able.
All right, thank you.
Justin, are you friends with Jason Bonham?
I've met him. I wouldn't say I was friends with him, but we've hung out a couple times. I used to work for Pete Townsend, and he would come to Who shows. And so we're like backstage friends.
Thank you.
Makes sense. But, oh, yeah. Good at promoting everything. There.
They're young. What you reckon? I ain't dying. Fax it to me and shit. I don't know.
This is another David Lemieux one. I know that the Jerry Garcia Band and Frank Zappa did a couple shows. Does anybody here back me up on that? I remember reading about that. I think Jerry Band opened for Frank. I want to say like 1980 on East Coast, but if I get that wrong, please don't.
Nobody someone here is correct.
But
It's already on the internet.
I remember Jerry always talking about Frank because it would be a new release or a new movie or something, and he would have a funny Frank story. And I didn't have the fortune to meet Frank, but Jerry always described they had very different attitudes towards certain lifestyle choices, shall we say. But I think they probably had a mutual respect for each other. I don't know what a Frank Zappa, Jerry Garcia Band show was like, but God, I sure wish I was there. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks. We're really excited and can't wait to see the film.
All right, over here.
So I know the focus is mostly around the Grateful Dead. About that. Are you going to kind of go off on, anything about the Deadheads and the culture surrounding the Grateful Dead?
Absolutely.
Yes!
How could you do a Grateful Dead just without having
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Duh.
So long as it relates to the drummers.
Everything's to the drummers.
I'll send it to the drummers.
It's called the Grateful Dead story, but it's really the Grateful Dead story, right?
But the crew stuff is some of the best stuff in the film. The crew is amazing. And the Deadheads. And we get all the spectrum, the whole side of the family.
Where are you doing your Deadhead research from?
That's a good question.
I think we all lived it. We just have a whole team of archivists that have been going at it for years. So we're getting it from the band, people.
Well, Grateful Dead's archivists
And the band has obviously stuff, and Justin has a lot of Justin's.
Well, I actually, I don't have, I'm not the Deadhead expert here. I was never playing.
So a lot of people filmed it, like when you
Deadheads are where we get our Deadhead stuff.
They had a camera, yeah. So they had a camera in the lot, and they'd ask for submissions, and they'd send it in. And then the ones that are easy to deal with, you could actually clear stuff.
See, Deadheads didn't let me film. I was like, so straight, they thought it was a narc. Like my past, and be like, oh, you were mad with the band. I wasn't really welcome with the band. It comes from Deadheads. Obviously makes sense.
There was an email sent out to a bunch of us before GD50. I remember submitting some.
Yeah. So we did do that. We were able to grassroots to do that.
Stories.
We went through every angle we could, and I think we have some really never before seen footage that people like.
Lots of it.
Hey, in the movie, of all the people that have guested at Dead shows, all the other musicians in the planet that have been part of that scene, are you going to touch on those musicians? How's that?
That's a good idea. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Fucking list is long.
To be seen later.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Is anybody in here from the outside?
New Jersey.
I think that's the name of the movie right now. Film around the Grateful Dead. So will they have every guest appearance at the play with them? No. Their family and they were considered family by the core members.
That's a good idea for a sequel too.
I was going to ask basically the same question, Branford, Steven Stills, they have all sorts of guest appearances. They've sat in a show, a couple songs with the boys. So I was just wondering if we touch base on some of that.
So more than a celebrity interview, we go for the Deadhead interview.
Yes.
So we're doing it right. You have enough celebrity with the band and what's going on around the band that was interesting with the guy that's taking it, this intellectual that's following the band, and this guy that's been on tour for years. So that's just as interesting to us as Bramford, who sat in for a long time. Yeah,
You can do your own project on that. That could be its own film. Influences of different guests.
Again, it became, how long. You could go on forever with this thing. At some point, you have to cut off. We have a good cast. The crew is really good. Deadheads are good. And Deadhead is good.
What was the question? I'm hoping there's a lot of Donna Jean. She's my favorite.
Donna she's in there.
A lot of Donna Jean.
Don and Keith had to get in the band.
Yeah, we don't leave anybody out. Everybody was there. It was good.
It is the drum.
It's just drum. It's every drum solo back to back from the beginning of time. All on top of each other.
Thank you.
And it all makes sense, oddly enough. They knew what they were doing. There was a plan. This is the kind of stuff you say in front of people and you get a call from Mickey. It'll be taken. Anyway.
I think we have time for one more question.
Explain what happened.
What did you say?
Again, these are one of the tangents that we could go on forever, where we explain exactly what happened to Vince. No. But if that, we'd have to go back to Jackson with the crew, with the big band. You will get a very good feel for that. You will.
Well, thank you guys for coming and talking with us, and we're excited to continue the conversation.
Thank you. Excuse me, I apologize for
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm sorry.
I know, because the whole movie and
I understand your approach could have been